Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're all doing really well. Let's take a look at a couple of things with the latest Axe FX 3 firmware 12.07. I'm also going to try to cover a few of the things that were new in 12.06 because I didn't do a video for that firmware. I'm sorry, it won't happen again. But most of the cool new things related to the blocks in the Axe FX 3 have to do with the compressor and the gate blocks. So there's some cool stuff in there. And when it comes to compression, it's kind of one of those kind of fuzzy areas for me with guitar. Like, I've never been a huge guy with compression, and most of the time I just kind of use it as a glorified boost. But I do want to show off some of the ways I like to use it in the Axe FX 3 because you can do some really cool stuff with it, as well as the multiband compressor, which is one thing I use in all my live presets, especially if I'm playing with high gain, which is pretty much all of the time. So before we get into that stuff, I am playing the AC20 model in the Axe FX 3 neck pickup of my Strat, a little bit of London plate reverb. Beautiful edge of breakup tone if I play really soft. And then if I really give the guitar a smack. That's the good stuff right there. I love this amp model. All right, let's start with some compression in front of the amp. There's also some cool stuff with the FC controllers while I remember, especially views. I think that deserves a standalone video, so I'll try to get to that in the next week or two. But one thing that I have in my blocks library is this 4-channel compressor block setup. So we'll start with that. The first channel is a studio compressor, and I basically just use this as a thickening agent with single coils. This is what it does. Kind of makes everything a lot easier to play. And one thing that I see talked about a lot in the guitar sphere is, dynamics. What I really think should be called articulation. But anyway, people talk about like dynamics and touch sensitivity and, valuing a lack of compression. But a lot of the time, having a bit of compression is actually what you want. Like when you're playing with blistering high gain and everything's easy to play and easy to be expressive with, you've got a whole lot of compression going on there. So you can get that same kind of, sticky, gooey feeling going on by running a compressor in front of the amp or using it as a boost, which I like to do. That is channel B on this. So this is with the threshold lower and the ratio lower, but a whole lot more level. And especially on this guitar, it kind of takes out some of that spikiness from the bridge pickup while still retaining the character. One of my favorite compressors in here is this analog compressor, which is pretty awesome. And what is new in the Axe FX 3 12.07 is we can select peak RMS or RMS plus peak detection for all the compressor types, which is pretty cool. But I like this one. These settings from memory are based around some Keeley style compression settings that Matt Picone posted. So Matt, thank you very much, because I stole these from you. Pretty sure I stole them from you. Anyway, I like these if I'm doing some hybrid picking, especially on the like neck and middle position. That's copying more of that like super squishy pedal compressor thing. And then channel D, I have an optical compressor. This one's really nice. If you set the light type to EL foil, it mimics the Distressor, which is one of the coolest rack compressors ever. Just to hear the difference, same pickup selection, I'll try to play the same thing. So that is very nice indeed. I really like that one. There's also a tube compressor, which we'll look at in a second. And with stuff like the studio compressor, which I love on like cleans, if I go to this Shiva preset here, I'll show you what you can do with it. So without the compressor, and I'll use the middle and the bridge for that kind of 80s hyper spiky clean sound. You can do the super squishy thing there, which I really like. This medium soft knee type is actually really nice. Another thing you can do with a compressor in front of an amp, let's go over to, say, this plexi scene here. I've got another block in my block library that I just call sustain, where basically if you have a look, I've cranked the ratio up and the level and turned the threshold right down. I'm using RMS plus peak for the detector type, and this is just going to work like a sustainer. Have a listen to the way notes die out at the moment. As opposed to this. Kind of just get a little bit more of a kick right at the end there. I like with the plexis as well, running a compressor after the amp and using this tube compressor type. Be really careful with these because it's really easy to turn the level up too far and basically be like, whoa, that sounds so much better because it's louder. And everything sounds better when it's louder. So I think I've kind of got this one balanced in. The tube compressor is nice because you can kind of get a little bit of like character and, you know, analog warmth from it as well as compression. So let's do this. That's really nice there. And you can see that with a lot of these types, I just leave the attack and the release at the stock settings. I find that unless you really know what you're doing with compression, that it's kind of just best to, you know, tweak the threshold, the compression, and the level and get all of that to taste rather than going crazy with anything else. If you do know what's going on with compression, then you've got all the good stuff that you need in this compressor block. Okay, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to move over to my Chugga Chugga guitar, and I'm going to bring up the Recto, and we're going to do some multiband. While we're here as well, we'll take a look at some of the gate stuff as well, but the Recto One Red, this is one of my favorite amps as well. I say that all the time, but this is a very comfortable amp for me because I own an old 2-channel rectifier. I've used it a lot to record with, and this just nails it. So let's take a look at some of the gate stuff. In the gate, recently we got this downward expander added, and now we can set the detector type to either peak or RMS, which is cool. And I like using this one here. I'll turn the reverb off as well, just to kind of really dry this out. Set the sidechain source as input 1, and this is like just basically the best gate ever, and adjust the threshold based upon your playing dynamics, playing articulations, I should say, and your guitar. So this is what it does. That's pretty cool. You can bring the ratio up if you really want to suck it down. Or you can try experiment with the detector type. So that's very, very cool. You can hear a little bit of ring from that part of my guitar right there, but otherwise, super duper tight. Okay, multiband compression. You notice that when I go chug-a-chug with this guitar, this really big kind of build-up of the low end. So one thing you might do is bring up a parametric EQ. You can hit a solo band, you know, turn the Q up and sweep this. It's normally somewhere around 200, 150 hertz. So we're soloing this. So what I could do is pull some of that out, right, with an EQ. Maybe go for a kind of wider Q, really get rid of that. And when you palm mute, that's good. But it also affects the overall tone when you're not palm muting. Which is a little bit annoying. So you can use the multiband compressor like a dynamic EQ so that it's only when you palm mute, it's going to kind of pull those frequencies out. I've done a few videos on this. I use this particular block in all of my live presets, and the setup is pretty simple. We set the low band basically off and the high band off. We set the frequency range to low. I set the crossover about 350 hertz here and 90 hertz here. So that's that kind of build up of low end chug zone, and just set the threshold to taste. So when you do that, you get the best of both worlds with that. Your open chords don't get affected, but then your chugs get reined in. And you can adjust the threshold to make that as gentle or severe as you like. What's really cool though, and I've been enjoying this, is there is now an auto attack and auto release mode in there. I'll give you the difference between those two. Really, really nice. I kind of like the settings I had before, and I also like the settings with the auto attack and the auto release. So again, if you're not super familiar with multi-band compression, use this. This kind of takes some of the guesswork out of it, which I really like. And we've also got the hard and soft knee type as we had before, which is pretty cool. Okay, the other thing is, I'll just show you guys this really quickly. I think it's this amp, the TC100. I did a video on my Facebook and my Instagram like a week or so ago, this one. So I was using the Triple Crest 2 for all of that, and I'll just show you how I've got it set. We'll use the same gate. By the way, the cab that I'm using, kind of as always, is this V30 cab that I made. You can get it on Exchange. Anyway, basically they're the settings. I didn't do a whole lot to the Triple Crest, and then I engaged the grinder boost. It makes a big difference. That's got a modifier attached to it, so I'm going to turn that off. And yeah, have a listen to it with and without the grinder boost. That's kind of magic right there, and that plays a big part in that particular tone, like really pushing the mids, getting rid of some of that low-end flub. I didn't do anything else to that. There's no like advanced parameters or anything happening in there. So yeah, that's some of the stuff that's going on with 12.07. Play around with these compressors, and I'm sure there will be a lot of talk over on the forum about favorite settings and things like that. Another really cool thing I stole from Cliff Chase himself. This was a post on the forum. It's about using the compressors like a clarity control. So what you do is there's a studio compressor and you sidechain it. So you basically set the high cut as low as possible. So you're only kind of compressing the lows, but you're doing it before the amp, unlike we did with the multiband compressor. So this is pretty cool, especially with this amp. So that's a really cool setting as well. I'm kind of partial to just using the boost though with this, especially if you're using like a high gain thing like the C++, then I like channel B over here because it just gives me some more sustain. It's kind of glorious. There you go. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I hope I didn't do too bad a job of butchering all the terminology around compressors. Again, I just kind of know what I like to hear, and when it comes to like doing specific things with a compressor, I'm not very good at it, but I know that if I turn it on, I can get some pretty cool sounds out of it. So enjoy, grab the new firmware. You should be able to get it straight from Fractal, which is very nice. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.